Good evening, everyone. How you guys doing? Hope you guys are doing well. Hope you're having a great week, that it's successful, and more than anything, that is productive, which will allow it to be successful. So, tonight's Next Level by Association. We've been doing this for 13 years now. We have people that are members all 13 years. We have people that have joined in the last couple of months. So, whether you're watching live or recorded, welcome. If you are a guest, welcome to being a guest. You can attend once as a guest, and we'd love to find ways to support you. One of the best things about Next Level by Association, just so you know, is it's really about the people in the room. It's really about the relationships being built. And we always say that there's someone in the room, in this room or in the group, that can change your life, but it's not up to them to find you. It's up to you to find them. So I invite you to do that. I invite you to meet people, connect with people. If you're a member, you have access to, about 4 or 5 years of content within in the Facebook group. You also have access to a lot of the different events and things that we do there. So get to know the people in the group. Tonight is going to be a really cool time because this gentleman I met through another member of ours, next Joe Ingram, who's a member of Next Level by Association, and he's been here since almost day one. Joe has his podcast, and if you guys haven't checked it out, you guys should check it out. It's called War Games or the Sales Genius. And if you know Joe, he's got a lot of great information, a lot of great insights, and I invite you to go check that out. But as always, he does that on Wednesdays at 2. I hop on and he puts me in a VIP where we actually get to be on screen, kind of like we do here. And so it's kind of cool when he says, "Hey, I want to introduce you to this guy." And I'm always excited when somebody has a great introduction for me. I'm always yes, and so when he did, I was like, great. Got to hear Dan's message, and I thought, I really like this guy. Well, then he put out an invite for any of us to be on his podcast. So he sent out the link. Well, what do? I click the link right then. And so when do I select? The first available time, which is the next day. So that's par for my course, right? Um, and Dan and I got on, and what was a 30-minute to 45-minute to maybe an hour long podcast, we ended up going for quite some time. And then we got together again on Monday, and we spent a little over 2 hours, right?
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, the reason I invite him to be on today is because this group is really the group of people that are committed to growing, committed to being the best version of themselves, but committed to helping one another. And you know me, I'm a big one that I don't care if you're a direct competitor. It just doesn't bother me at all. My bottom line is, how do we support each other? How do we play in this big, huge world together so that we can help one another become everything that we were designed to be, as well as help other people benefit? One of the next level pillars we talk about is that, when you and I operate from less than our absolute best, the world is operating from a deficit.
Hmm.
So we want to make sure that we're always operating from our absolute best, at our absolute best, so that the world is not operating from a deficit. So I'm excited to have you guys here tonight. I'm excited for you guys to meet Dan. So before we do that, let's start. Who of you guys that are online right now in Zoom, who has let me ask, I see Cynthia Mannion just hopped on. So Cynthia, why don't you tell us what you have going on right now and how can we support you as a community? You're muted.
Be kind to everyone, love
Muted.
everyone. Oh my gosh. Be kind to everyone, love
Muted.
everyone. Oh my gosh. Be kind to everyone, love
Muted.
everyone. Oh my gosh. Be kind to everyone, love
Muted.
everyone. Oh my gosh. Be kind to everyone, love
Muted.
everyone.
Hold
Oh
on.
my gosh. Be kind to
Okay,
Okay. I was in the Facebook group too.
gotcha. Okay,
So
so
maybe I'm back now. Am I back?
you're back now. So
I
what
just
did
thought we
you
were
have
stuck
going
in a
on?
time loop.
How we can yeah, and how can we support you as a community?
um
Well, I'm a brand new and I can't see anything except for launch meeting, so I don't want to mess it up. I am 21 again. I have everything that I thought I wanted, and now I'm ready for the next chapter. I just had a big birthday and I just was in a bodybuilding contest
Yeah.
and I got a second place in Master 60 and over,
Nice.
and I got a third place in 50 and over.
Wow.
And I actually might be, and let me tell you, the girl who won the first place in 60 and over deserved it. She's 70 years old and she had more muscles than me.
Unreal.
And in the 50, the third place, I was so happy with it. The 71 with the muscles won. And this girl who got second was in the army and lost a leg and was wearing a Barbie prosthesis.
Oh,
She
wow.
deserved it.
Wow.
It was like magical. Just people, women, men helping each other. And they got a fifth place in 35 and over. I
Very
actually thought maybe
cool.
they made a mistake on that because those girls were so beautiful. But
Very
anyway, it was very
congratulations.
fun. And it just shows setting a goal to stay healthy, because if you don't stay healthy, you can't help others.
That's right. That's right. Congratulations. Why don't you share the name of your book so people can look that up as well? Because had that I was on your show not too long ago and you were on my show before.
Yeah.
About your book. Why don't you share the
Hey,
name of your book and how people can get it?
I've got Black Pearl and Savannah Seas, a love letter to the ocean, both
Love it.
available on Amazon.
Awesome.
If you like it, leave me 5 stars. If you don't leave me any.
Yeah.
Um,
Congratulations.
They're
yeah,
both #1 bestsellers, and they're cute.
very cool.
I like them, and it was very fun. I also enjoyed the first 500 that I sold. I made, and a friend helped me make these bookmarkers.
Nice.
So they had a little mermaid on them, and it turned out to be a 13-step process for one, so they're gone. In fact, this one happens to be broken, but everyone was different with a real black pearl on it. It was for the black pearl.
Yeah, I like that.
And it was just very fun being very creative. I think my very favorite passage is on page 66 in Black Pearl.
What does it say?
Both the water and sand are part of the ocean, Boris said. Therefore, I want you to lie back and just be one with everything around you. Do not try to distance yourself or think. Just be aware of this great ocean and let go of everything else.
Nice, nice. Thank you for sharing that.
Hey, Cynthia, can I share something with you?
Yes, absolutely. It should be nice if I can figure out how to see you guys again.
I'm right over here.
If I hit open Zoom, I'm afraid that I will ruin it. I found you. Hi.
Hi. So I
Oh,
really
douchebag selling. I sold copiers for 23 years. My
fantastic.
act for
Well,
this.
hardly. You know, there's something that I witnessed in what you shared. And first of all, like, congratulations on what you created for yourself. And the awards are just a representation.
It's fun. It was just fun. I didn't even care, actually.
All right. So a compliment is coming your way. Brace yourself. Okay.
Yeah.
So what I
A
saw,
little bit
right. So what I saw, and a lot of people do this, and I think it's part of your charm and your humility, but you kind of made a joke like maybe they made a mistake in giving me the award. And what I invite you, and it's just an invitation, I invite you to really own it. Like, hey, look what I created. Like, this is a
I
lot of
create
work.
it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so easy to do that, right? To live in that humility. But what it makes me think of, Martin Luther King never said, it wasn't nothing. Like, I got lucky. Like, he owned it. Gandhi, Mother Teresa, Richard Branson. Right? It's not that they're full of themselves, but they own their successes. And that's my invitation.
Yeah.
I think you're a great leader of women. And I think a lot of women look up to you.
Mm.
And when they see you being strong, it empowers them to be strong.
Agreed.
I hope that's okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Received.
Thanks.
How about Dan Altmeyer, brother? What are you doing? What
Hey,
are you
Dan.
doing, and how can we support you? And you guys can all stay on if you want.
Well, thanks for making me come in after Cynthia Mannion. I
Well,
mean,
you know, somebody had to do it, and I didn't want to be me.
and the other part of that is I'm sorry I don't have my Echoplex working here to get the effect. But so last month I mentioned that I was waiting for the proof of my my book,
Yeah.
and
Woohoo!
I have my proof. A couple
Woohoo!
little things that need to be changed. I guess life is never perfect when you're writing a book, but so I'm excited about that. We're going to start promoting it next week, free release, and right now we're targeting August 1 as the actual release date. So we'll be that's the big thing going on in my life is
Awesome. Well, congrats.
aging gracefully, planning thoughtfully, and hopefully it will mean a lot to a lot of people that don't have a plan on how to deal with the possibility of needing extra care when they age.
Yeah, what you're writing about, I just really appreciate helping people in that stage of their life, and not an easy subject to tackle. So I commend you for tackling it, and I commend you for writing and doing something about it. So thank you.
The statistics are that 70% of people over 65 will need care at some point in the rest of their life, and only about 12% of people have a plan and financing to take care of it. So it's a big need, and a lot of people think there isn't an answer, and there are answers out there. Everybody's different, but hopefully this book will help people, empower people to seek out people that can help them implement a plan.
Yes, definitely.
Well
Make sure
done.
make sure you post that in the Facebook group, so
I sure will.
where people can have a link to go there and get it. Okay.
And I've been in sales for about 40 years, and I've never sold a douchebag. So
Well, there's
I've
still
met
time.
some. I've met some for sure, but
Yeah,
not
yeah.
sold any. I'm
Well, Dan,
looking
thanks for
forward to
sharing
this,
that today.
Dan.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks, brother. Let's see, Alana. Alana is just getting back, I believe, from Washington, D.C. Am I correct?
Yes. Got back late last night. We took a chartered honor flight with, I think we're missing one. We took 86 veterans to Washington, D.C.
Wow.
9 were from Korea War, and the rest were all Vietnam.
Wow.
The weather was perfect. The rain kept the humidity gone. The temperature was moderate.
Nice.
Umbrellas worked really well with a little rain jacket and hood, so we didn't mind that. I was a guardian, so every veteran has, we call it a guardian, somebody with them that just kind of watches out. So when they're 90 or 100, it's a lot more work, and it could be pushing a wheelchair. I was doing that a little bit because I had 2 guardians with me, and they were a couple. We also had 5 women veterans, and one of them was mine, who happens to be a commander. So she was commenting, she goes, I think I had highest seniority, and she didn't mean age, she meant rank, and they live in Cambria. And and then I was put with a roommate who's been 25 years, an attorney. She was also in the military short term. So it's such an honor to be with these people, because they definitely were forced, obligated to be grateful. When we said thank you over and over and over, and we took them to all these places, you could just see them owning that we had so much gratitude for them. The airplane was decorated inside red, white, and blue. And there was one flight attendant who doesn't have a lot of seniority, but somehow she was able to get to be able to do this on her flight. And she had a beautiful voice, and she sang 3 or 4 different songs to us that were patriotic. And it was fabulous, and just brings so much joy to myself, to my life, of being able to be there for them. It's really neat.
And I know I tell you this probably every time we talk about this, but I just want to tell you thank you for being one of those people that helps people go back and feel honored, even if they weren't when they first got home. Helping them feel honored today. And I've seen you do it countless times, not only honor flights, but to local community, to veterans. And I just want to tell you thank you for who you're being in that time.
Thank you. And if you know any veterans, there's honor flight chapters all around the US. And if somebody doesn't have anyone nearby, I just heard one of the local people in DC said, we will do one at a time. They get flown in here, and we will make sure that they get honored and out to the celebration places.
So
So
cool.
any veterans, you can refer them to me, and I'll get them taken care of.
That is awesome. Can you post that in the Facebook group so that if somebody's watching recorded, they'll have the ability to do that?
Yes, yes, yes.
So thank you for sharing that. Appreciate that. Bill Janishak, Dr. Bill Janishak, Yorba Linda, California. Hey, brother.
Well, here I am,
There you are.
live and in person.
I love it. Love you, brother.
I love you too. This is great. Yeah, you know what? I think I got something that might help you all out over there. I'm putting on a program for the missing segment, the good to great segment. I partnered up with some fitness and trainers from, they're kind of influencers on YouTube in the space. You guys may or may not know them, but and a couple doctor friends to running blood work, running some diagnostics, a science-based performance. We are calling it Renaissance Performance Lab.
Nice.
12-week program, but it's for, you know, I do functional medicine, functional neurology, which just kind of means that we run down a lot of rabbit holes, but we're usually focused on sick people. And the forgotten people are the ones that are still in the gym, and they're not, you know, just like you know, JOB is just above broke. You know, JOS is just above sick. They're still doing this stuff. They want more. They're striving for more, and they're jumping. There's just no direction in any, you know, gym bro or, you know, TikTok video that they think they're getting good advice from. We're actually using the latest science. We're doing this high-level blood testing everything from viral loads to toxic loads to gut health, metabolism, cardiovascular, hydration, sleep, to get people dialed in so that they can be, as you say, Bob, is, you know, the best versions of themselves, and going out and kick ass and take names. And I'm excited about that, because there's the population out there that they're kind of forgotten. They're just kind of, you're either a high level athlete at that point, or you kind of figure it out on your own. So that's where I'm at.
Love that, man. Congrats. Appreciate that. That's going to be awesome.
Yeah.
Make sure you post it in the group so that we can all know more about it and learn and participate.
Yeah, we'll launch in a couple of weeks, and I'll throw it out there.
Guys, for those of you who don't know Dr. Bill Janishak is one of my dearest friends. He's been a friend of mine since, I don't know, probably 2002.
Yeah,
And he's a chiropractor in Yorba Linda. But I tell you, that's not who he is. Who he is a gentleman that really, really cares and does amazing things outside of his profession to help other people be even better than they were when they first met him. And I've seen it firsthand. He's worked with me. He's worked with a lot of my clients. A lot of the members of Next Level by Association go to him on a regular basis. He is the go-to guy when it comes to functional medicine, and I would definitely recommend anybody have a phone call with him at the very least and see, because he's got online courses. He's got things that he can help you with outside of just his office. So um, he's an amazing guy. So thank you for being who you are, Bill, and thank you for your impact and influence in my life.
Well, thank you, Bob. Love you, bro.
Love you, bro. All right, let's go over to, I see Jim Miller hopped on. Jim Miller. Jim Miller is a leadership expert. He's been a member for maybe almost I don't know, maybe 8 months now, and super great guy. Has a podcast. He's doing a lot of podcasts these days, and is really doing some big things to help people gain their footing, get their leverage back, and be able to really accelerate their lives. So, Jim, you there?
Yeah, I'm here. Thanks. I'm glad to sorry I'm late, but yeah, I always love these sessions.
So what's going on in your life that we can support, and how do we support you?
Well, I'm trying to consolidate now. Thank you for asking. I my podcast, Bold Leadership Stories, is going to be at the top of my list now. I've been doing other things, and I've decided to consolidate all my energy into that. So I'm bringing in some marketing expertise, and then I'm looking for someone to help me with a rebrand on it. And also, I want to build my audience, like a hyper local effort to bring an audience from the Temecula Valley to my site and grow that, and then eventually bring in additional like events, live events I want to have here, take advantage of the proximity of people and get people nose to nose and toes to toes, right? So I'm looking to get all that done. So I'm love to get a referral to somebody who's great at marketing that would be interested in helping me with basically a YouTube channel. It's not a big deal, but it's got potential, good bones, if you will, and it needs some help.
Okay. We'll definitely post that as a question in the Facebook group in Next Level by Association and in everything Next Level. If you're a member of Next Level by Association, you automatically have the rights to post in everything Next Level too. So
great.
So post in there, and when you're doing your lives, share them to both of those places so that we can help support that way as well.
Fantastic. Thank you. Yeah, you've mentioned that several times. I haven't done it, but definitely start doing that. Thank you.
Great guest today. Great story. Guys, head on over to his podcast, check it out. He's got some great people that he brings on today. The lady's story was absolutely phenomenal. So head on over there. Where do they get to your podcast?
Well, the easiest way is to go to YouTube, and it's at Bold Leadership Stories. Simple, easy peasy. At Bold Leadership Stories on YouTube. Awesome.
Great guest. I've been very blessed to be on there, and look forward to being back. So,
fantastic. I'll make a note of that.
Definitely.
Thank you.
Let's see. Who else do we have? Dan. No, come on. I know Leslie. Leslie came to our Mastering Your Inner Game Day a couple of weeks ago, and it was a real delight to get to know her. And I loved the way she just jumped in, played full out. She didn't know anybody except Flo in the room, and she jumped in. So, Leslie, are you there? Where's she at?
Hi, I'm sorry, I was muted.
There you are.
I'm here. It's late here, so I'm going to sleep pretty soon, so I'm not on camera. Sorry.
Okay, so
Anyway.
what is something you have going on, and how can we support that?
Okay. I just my business that I'm in, I've had a lot of growth with like a lot of new team members coming on. So I'm just trying to get everybody trained and, on board and everything as far as being up to speed, learning the business and everything. So I guess to say a prayer for me. I don't know how else you can support me at the moment. But anyway, it's going really great. It's been a real blessing the last month. to have some success. It's like you try so hard for a long time, and then all of a sudden, when you kind of just hand it over to God to help you, He comes through and makes it happen.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, I can't remember the exact numbers, but you added like X amount of number of people on your team in like
Right.
a couple of weeks of period of time. How many people was that?
Um, Within a 2 week span, I had 49 people on my team, and then by the end of April, we had 78 people on the team. So it
Love
was
it.
really super exciting.
Yeah, yeah. Congratulations on that. That's
Thank
incredible.
you.
Absolutely.
Thank you so
We will
much. I
definitely
appreciate
keep
it.
we will definitely keep you in our prayers about that. And we will
Thank
be
you.
amazing, great things for you and for your team.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. Let's see. Did I miss anybody? I think I'm okay. Leslie, Coach. Okay, I think that's it. So guys, you guys can stay on camera. This is just going to be a roundtable discussion, but I got to tell you, man, Coach Dan is it was a delight because we just hit it off. We had conversation that could have just kept going. We had been on for 2 hours and we could have just kept going. And I'll tell you the thing I admire and respect about him the most. He is very real. He doesn't pull any punches, and yet he doesn't act like something he's not. And I love his marketing. I love his approach to things. I love his story. And so we're gonna jump in talking about his story. But I got to tell you guys, the reason I have him on tonight is because I really believe that he can bring a lot of value to your life, not just your business. He's got expertise in business and he can definitely do that. But he's got a great YouTube channel with a lot of videos that I've watched, probably every one of them today. And I think you're going to really enjoy the conversation we're going to have. I will ask that you just hold your questions until the end, because what we're going to do is we're going to cut it off from live stream at some point, and it'll just be us, and it'll just be the conversation we're having, and then we're going to have Q&A, and so it'll be a really special time that you're going to be on camera with him and be able to get dialogue and get questions. Here's what I will encourage you. I will encourage you. We've done this a lot of times, that when you're on camera with him and it's just the three of us, you, myself, and Dan, what I invite you to do is take a picture, take a screenshot, so you get that picture and that you can put that out and promote it. We're also going to have all this cut out into a bunch of clips and we'll be able to share it out. So, look forward to that as well. But with that being said, Dan has got a great background in marketing, a great background in sales. He's got a great background in, let me just say, life, which transcends and supersedes everything I can imagine about business and about sales. You know me, I believe that who you are is more important than what you do, because who you are is more, it will determine the quality of anything and everything that you do. And so when I get to know somebody, I always challenge myself to get to know them and who they are, not just what they do. And the more I found out about Dan, the more I appreciated him, the more I liked him, and the more I thought he's somebody that this tribe needs to learn from, and he needs to hear from some of you guys. So I appreciate you, Dan. Appreciate you being on.
I'm just so thrilled to be here. I when I met you on my podcast, that's where we really got to know each other. The thing that occurred to me is that you are a self-sharpening knife. I've the work I've done in personal development and flying around the country and all over, teaching courses and meeting thousands of entrepreneurs. Most people, when they encounter a difficulty, they get knocked down. It's just human nature. And there's something about you, man, that you just keep coming back. And, I don't want to run through your whole pedigree, but it hasn't been easy. And there's been, just one of the things that you struggled with would have knocked anybody down. And there wouldn't have been anybody who said, oh, they should have gotten back up again, or, they just, and it's just endemic in your personality. And
Thank you.
that's why I wanted to be here, because your vibe is your tribe. So if you're that way, I wanted to see who else was around you.
Mm.
And this is probably the most quiet I've ever been on a Zoom call. So that's going to end right now.
Okay.
And the what I've seen, no surprise at all. The people who have showed up are in service. They're business people. They're hitting it hard. They've hit it hard. They're doing new things at all ages. And that's, you know, that's the grit of life.
Amen.
We're in a culture now that is seeking to be blameless, that people look at circumstances, they look at other people, and they say, my lack of motivation or my lack of creating the life that I want is because of these circumstances or because of these people.
Mm.
And, you know, um, I see people doing things like, well, I'm going to make a dream board and I'm going to, you know, just like these inaction, you know, my grandfather got up at, 5 a.m. to go to we had a family business. We had a meat packing company. And like, if I showed Papa Dave a dream board, he'd set it on fire. The the lack of, it's not just a lack of motivation, it's the belief that there's something waiting for me that's easy. And if I just wait long enough, the easy thing will happen. And along the way, the reason I'm not doing something is because of all these circumstances that prevent me from doing it. So hopefully the easy thing is going to sort of like kick in. And the thing that I talk about all the time when it comes to selling is about self-responsibility, what we create. And so the first thing that I want to share, and I finally gotten to it, is that we create everything in our lives. And in fact, our lives are a physical manifestation of our inward belief system. So if you want to know what you believe about yourself and about the world and your set of beliefs and judgments, look around. Look at your friends, look at your income, look at where you live, look at your partner. And if those things, and if you don't like those things are representative of what you believe about yourself. And this is hard for people, hard for a lot of people to accept. I think that people in this room are going to be nodding their heads and looking at me going, well, yeah, of course. But the reason that I'm sharing it is I know there's someone listening right now who needs this information, who's looking around their life and saying, man, this is just not what I want. Well, the truth is, it is what you want. You just have to work backwards and discover why you want it, why you're telling yourself this story, why you have low income or low friends or low opinion of yourself. And it's not your parents, it's not the circumstances, it's not bad luck. It's a belief that you have, and every belief that you have can be changed. I'm living proof of that. I know, Bob, you're living proof of that much more than me. And I've seen it happen. I've helped it happen. And I'm begging you, you who are listening, look around your life, decide what it is that you want, begin to do the inner work of loving and appreciating everything about yourself and hold that to heart.
Yeah, so well said. Thank you for sharing that, and thank you for the nice words. I appreciate them, and I do receive them. So thank you. I don't want to make light of those. One of the things you said really strikes home with me. It's like it's almost like you hear people say this all the time. I didn't sign up for this. And I just
Yeah,
kind of
you
laugh and I
did.
go, no, you did. You really
Right.
did. You really
Yeah.
signed up for this. You just don't know what you signed up for. But it's such a great point that you make, that we have to accept the responsibility.
Yeah.
And I've done a lot of work with real estate and done a lot of work with salespeople, and it's always amazing how when hard times come, they go, man, the market is just so bad. They go,
Right.
there's somebody in your industry that's doing better than you, yeah. So why aren't they complaining about the market?
Yeah.
And you and I both have dealt with real estate, so we know.
Yeah.
those people are quick to blame the market, but they don't give the market praise for what it produced for them for the last 10 years or whatever.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
And I think that, when we look at helping people, including ourselves,
Yeah.
we got to help ourselves. I believe that we have to say, what's my part in this? And not only what is my part, but what did I do to invite this in? And most people say, I never invited it in. Ah, you did, either by subliminal thoughts or
Yeah.
by not being careful about what you were exposing yourself to. What you did invite it in on some level. So what did you do about it? And then what are you going to do now? What do you say to that person who's like, okay, I'll admit that maybe I invited in, maybe I do own some responsibility. What do you say to them now that they've said maybe I do? What's the first step for them to help themselves?
I say, let's say that you wanted this to happen. I know you didn't want this to happen, but let's say that you did. We're just going to play a game. We're going to be in a little reality bubble here. And when we're done with the game, we can get back out of this bubble and just back into your life. But let's say that you actually wanted this to happen. Why might you have wanted this to happen? And their first response is always, well, I didn't want this to happen. I said, I know. I totally get it, right? Because when I'm in a sales conversation or when I'm helping someone, it's roughly the same thing. I have to go to where they are first. I have to agree with them. Right? Wow, Dan, I can't afford that. Oh man, I get it. Right? Not, yes, you can. So, right. It's like, let's say that you wanted this to happen. I know that you didn't, but let's pretend. Why might you want it to happen? And I asked them that because their eyes will start to twitch back and forth, which is good news, right? That means that they're thinking, they are processing. Why might I want that to happen? And, like somebody who was sick, I said, you know what? Maybe you wanted some downtime. Maybe you just wanted a little time off. And you work so hard that you just didn't feel like, do you feel guilty when you take time off? Yeah, I do. I always feel guilty. So maybe you made yourself sick subconsciously. You just wanted time off and you wanted to, have an alibi for it, And so, right, I start like, I know what the answer is, right? But I can't tell them the answer, right? I have to help them discover the answer. So I'll just go, well, maybe it could be this. And what if it's that? And how might that have happened? And it's great because it's like an avalanche, Bob. Once they start to deconstruct how they created it, they go, wow, that's kind of interesting too, because I might have even done that.
Yeah.
You had said something that when we talked, and I've done this in the facilitation work that I've done, where someone is late, right, and they say, traffic was terrible, or this happened, or I couldn't get off the phone. I'm like, hey, I totally get it, right? That's where I always start. Hey, I totally get it. And then I say, just out of curiosity, if you knew that you were going to get $5,000 by showing up on time, what would you have done differently? Just out of curiosity, like. And it's like, hey, would you have even rented or, gotten a hotel room across the street just to know that you could be here, right?
Right.
And yeah, like, okay, so there are things that you could have done. I'm always moving back into the realm of self-responsibility because that's where the freedom is. When those poor souls were attacking the Capitol building, I look at them and I'm not angry with them, and I don't want to get into politics, but what I see are people who are bereft of the idea that they are in control of their lives. And I really wish that somebody had gone on TV, someone from the government, and said, hey, we really screwed up. Like, we are not sharing. We're not speaking in a way where you feel heard. We're not listening to you. So here's what we're doing to hear you. It's not so much.
I love that concept, and I've got to ask you the question.
Yeah.
Who in today's climate, political or otherwise,
Yeah.
who do you know in today's climate that has the intestinal fortitude to be able to do that?
Richard Branson. This is or Elon Musk. I mean, love him or hate him, right?
Yeah. I'm not talking about love and hating. I'm talking about
no,
the intestinal fortitude to go, you know what? You got to
Uh,
take a look at this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Our leaders have become so risk averse and so committed to keeping their jobs. And again, I'm trying to steer out of politics, but I'm just talking about the nature of human beings. That the reason I love entrepreneurs, the reason I gave up personal development is because I could not find enough people who were willing to do the work. They would get just to the point where they weren't miserable, and they called that happiness.
Yeah.
Right? They get just to the point where they weren't miserable, and they called it happiness. Entrepreneurs will continue to work hard. We will grind until we're grinding metal. And entrepreneurs are going to save us. It's not, I'm sorry I don't think it's our elected officials. They seem too risk averse.
Yeah, I love that whole risk adverse thing, because it seems like most people are playing not to lose rather than to win.
Absolutely.
And it frustrates the heck out of me sometimes when you're coaching somebody and you're helping them and you see great strides that they're moving in the right direction.
Yeah.
But you know all they're doing is waiting for the other shoe to drop because they don't want to lose, but they're not really going to go all in to win. You mentioned all in the other day when we were having a conversation.
Yeah.
And what do you think in today's climate, in today's lifestyle, or for an entrepreneur or for a family person, in a relationship, what does all in look like to you?
It's where you disappear. You're so focused on a vision and an outcome that you disappear. Can I tell you my favorite Gandhi story?
Yes, please.
Okay. This is early in Gandhi's movement, and this is an answer to your question. Early in Gandhi's movement, he's just getting going. He's not Gandhi. He's still just sort of Gandhi the lawyer. Right? He's just getting little known. And he has some young people working for him. A father in India comes to Gandhi and he says, "My son is working for you, and I need him back to come and work in my business." You know, the system in India, that's just how it works, right? They're really, especially at that point, there wasn't a question. If you're the son of a business owner, you're going to work in that business, right? And so he says to Gandhi, this business owner, man, he says, "Look, I believe in what you're doing, and I will donate $10,000 to your cause if you give me my son back, if you tell my son, come back." And so here we are, right? Gandhi has his choice. Hey, money is very important in a movement like that.
Sure.
So what's he do? Does he take the money? Does he keep the son? What do you think he does?
I would like to say I have an idea, but I don't. I really don't. The more I think about the question, the more I realize I start second guessing my own answers. What did he do?
So this is the fascinating thing. And when I heard the answer, like when I heard this story the first time, and I heard the answer to this question, it really changed everything about how I approach decisions. And this is coming back to your question. Gandhi said, "Give me the $10,000. I'm keeping your son, and I want you and your wife to come work for me too."
Wow.
Yeah, right. Now, the reason most people, and I certainly didn't have that answer, is because I looked at the scenario that the business owner gave me, right? And I would have said, those are my two choices.
Yeah.
But see, Gandhi did not consider it Gandhi's movement. Gandhi worked for the movement. He was just the person with the most responsibility. Just like you and I and all the entrepreneurs listening, we work for our companies. We're employees of our companies. We're no different than the other employees. We just have more responsibility and more seniority. So the reason that Gandhi could do that and not worry about, oh, what's he going to think of me, or I'm asking too much, is because he was focused on a vision, not himself, not this movement. He was focused on a vision of freeing India. And when you have a big vision like that, all you want are assets. And what he saw was that boy, he saw $10,000, and he saw a man with a lot of chutzpah, and probably his wife was the same way. These are assets. I need these to support my vision. He disappeared. Right? He was not involved in that. His ego wasn't involved in that. He was serving a mission. Dr. King served a mission. Right? Mother Teresa served a mission. So if you want to be in a space where you are truly giving, you're moving, you're creating something, it takes distracting yourself from yourself to do that. Like right now, and right before we got on, I focus myself on a little hand went up. I focus myself on what I'm going to contribute, because if I don't, Bob, I'll start asking myself, how am I doing? Is this good enough? Am I coming off weird? Am I taking up too much time? Right? That ego that starts to, and I start to go down the ego rabbit hole, and I just gently excuse that. And I think right now there's someone listening who needs to hear this message. That's all I'm focused on.
Love it. Well, and you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. So when you think about Gandhi or any other movement that's going on, any other thing that people are finding relevance, importance, significance in right now, what are some of the things that you see as being detrimental to our being so consumed with XYZ?
We're just lost, man. We're lost in an illusion of stories. We are unhappy. We're under the belief that our unhappiness is guided by forces outside of us instead of within us. We're certain that we are not. It's not just that we're not responsible, but we're not capable. Rosalind and I went to Japan way before the COVID thing. There's no homeless people there. One of the most correction, we saw one homeless person, and we kind of peeked in their little thing. It was filled with books. And I had a story I told myself. I looked at this, I thought, this guy is like, I just want to read. I'm just going to set up a little thing here and read so no one freaking bothers me. But there's no homeless there because everybody has a job. Everybody who we went up to this guy, he was in this beautiful park and he was sweeping, and we just started chatting with him. He goes, yeah, everybody who wants a job has one here. Why? Because they take care of their people. And why? Because it is culturally significant to care for your people. I have a number of people that work for me in the Philippines, and my exec, her name is Mary Chris. We're just talking about healthcare and all that, and she says, "Why do you make your parents move out when they're old? Like, why don't you take care of them? Why is it that you put them in these places to die by themselves?" And I was like, wow, that's a powerful question.
Yeah.
Right. And so the cultures, I was like, because we suck. I don't know. I didn't have an answer. Right.
That's a tough one.
Well, it's because we make it financially unfeasible to do that. Right. Like, this country loves to make money off of sick people. Right. The sicker you are, the more money they make. And so I understand why people are so bereft of joy, because you just feel like there's no foothold. And again, that's why I love entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
That's who's going to save it. Some kid in his basement working on AI is going to figure out how to take down the health insurance companies. And I hope that happens in my lifetime, because it's sick. It's sick to make money off of sick people. And I'm so devastated by that. And it's going to take someone not just smart, but really, with a lot of initiative and ingenuity, who's going to be poking around with AI and go, wait a second, here's the answer.
That brings up a term that I heard you use in one of your videos, conscious community. Can you describe conscious community to you?
Look around, Bob, you're in one.
I agree. Thank you.
It's it is a commitment to, well, it's what you said, and I wrote this down when you said it. It's not up to them to meet you. It's up to you to meet them. Right? That's one of the first things that you said in this, is that when you're coming in here, hey, there's a lot of people here. Leverage it. Reach out. I use Calendly, a system called Calendly, and I have a Calendly event. I have about 50 different Calendly events for different kinds of things. And any kind of connection that I want to make, I have a Calendly link for it. And I also have a short code in my phone. So like if I want to make a connection with someone, I can type in 30X and this little thing pops up. It says, "Hey, great to meet you. Please click this link and let's connect." Right? I don't have to, oh, wait a second here. Let me bring up my account, right? I have this short code all set up. Right. I have all these things set up, all these processes set up, because I know it is important when I meet someone like you, I want it to be just like that, to be able to make that connection.
Same here.
I have QR codes on my phone because I'll meet someone at an event and go, "Oh, please hit this." So I can quickly, they'll hit it and I can grab their phone number because it gets texted to me.
Yeah.
Right. In an instant, you have an instant sometimes to make a connection that can change your life.
Right.
And you have to be able to realize it and take advantage of it. And that's what you can do in a conscious community.
What about success and failure? I love some of the conversation you were having about success and failure. What are some of the highlights of that, and how does one determine what was successful versus what was failure?
Well, first of all, success and failure are the two sides of the same coin.
Yeah.
And if you think that they're different, or if you think that they're the opposite, you're wrong. Success is, oh, cool, this thing happened in a way that I kind of wanted. Right? Failure is, oh, cool, this thing happened in a way that I didn't want, but I learned a lot from it. Now, if you categorize that as failure, then the failure is this thing happened and you didn't get any advantage from it. All right. So just to kind of qualify what I'm talking about. So, because, all right, about eight years ago, I was a man in a very unusual position. I was on the floor in my apartment in a pool of snot and tears, my own, because I had just lost my marketing company. In a month, I had lost over $100,000. I was $50,000 in debt. And I was lost, right? And it wasn't just the money, it was my ego structure that had collapsed because I thought this business was me. And so I was certain that I was failing. Now, what had happened is I had hired a pathological liar to work for my company, right? Now, I thought he tricked me. But what I came to realize is that I hired him because I hate marketing. I'm just really good at it. It was never supposed to be a business. And I hired him to destroy my company. And why? Because I didn't have the courage to walk away. I was a coward. I was a coward to fail.
Jeez.
And so I set this, we were talking about this earlier. I set this whole thing up. And while I was on the floor in snot and tears, that's a question that I asked myself. Why did I decide to destroy my company and turn my life into shambles? Why did I do this? What's the beautiful purpose? And I started thinking, I started working backwards. And actually, I had a call with a friend and she said, "Well, do you want to rebuild your marketing company?" I'm like, "No." Right. And she's like, well, here we go. And I said, "I hate marketing." And she's like, "I know. Like, what are you doing as marketing?" And so she knew me from the personal development days. And I said, "Look, I like Laura Lee, I think I want to be a consultant, a coach. I want to get back into the changing people's lives business." And she goes, "Well, first of all, thank God, because we've all been waiting for this. Like none of your friends understood why you were in marketing, moron. And this is what you're supposed to be doing." I was like, "Yeah, but who's going to hire a business coach? You just failed at business." And she goes, "I don't know. You'll work it out." Right. So this is I'm giving you this context because I want you to understand. I want you who are listening to understand that I understand success and failure. Right? I'm not some guy with a silver spoon in my mouth that just has an infinite amount of money coming in from somewhere else. Right? I've lost everything. And that feeling of loss isn't the feeling of failure. It's the feeling of a detachment of the belief that I was lovable. Let's say that again. The feeling of failure is the detachment from the belief that you are lovable. Failure is a judgment about our worthiness in the world. And so when we hit failure, really hard failure, we believe that our worthiness has been dialed down. Maybe it is at 0. And if we are not worthy, then we are not worthy of love or being loved. And that is a core fear of human beings as children, that we can be separated from our parents' love. And failure is poking at that belief. And so the way through that is to be just sincere and absolutely focused on loving yourself. And I don't mean that like, oh, I'm so great loving yourself. It's that literally looking in the mirror. And this is what I did. I would look in the mirror and say, I love and accept myself as I am. That's how I began to rebuild. Anytime I saw a reflection of myself, I love and accept myself as I am, you know, in a window, anything, in my rear view mirror, I love and accept myself as I am. I still do it. That's why, you know, it's Pavlovian now. And
Yeah.
coming back from failure isn't, you know, building a business again or anything. It's recognizing that you are lovable at your core and that there's goodness. That's why the woman who was on earlier and she was said, oh, they made a mistake about the award. I had to jump in. I had to. Like, I cannot allow that because you, I know you're listening. You're the inspiration for someone else. You don't have the luxury of being humble. Like when you achieve success, when you are out there, you do not have the luxury of being humble because people are looking to you to be inspired by you. And so failure is an inside game that you play with yourself that can be rebuilt fairly quickly. It only took me 8 months to come back from that.
You came back big too.
Well, yeah, I mean, yes, I created what I wanted.
Your
and I was
first
determined.
engagement after that was $10,000, right?
Yes, right. 8 months after being on the floor, I walked out on stage in Dallas, Texas, being paid $10,000 for my first speaking gig. And people love that. Oh my God, that's amazing. Like, no, well, that's not the interesting part of the story. The interesting part of the story are the 8 months, right? Because the 8 months were crazy.
Well, we talked about this the other day. Who did you have to become in that 8 months?
Yeah. And the first
transcend that.
Well, but the first thing I became is nobody. Right. I wiped the whiteboard of my life clean. I erased Dan Gordon and I started to build Coach Dan Gordon from the ground up because who I had been was out of line with who I was, which is why my company failed, which is why I failed my company. Right. I destroyed it because I was out of line with my integrity. And so failure, right? Failure and success are on that same side of the coin. And you have been through a lot and you know that you can come back. I've been through enough now that I know I can come back. Like I don't like failure. I still have fantasies about being afraid of failure. And that's all they are, fantasies, stories I tell myself. But I know if something was going to take me down, it would have happened by now, Bob. It would have already happened. Like with all of this shit. And I mean, it's just, there's so much good fortune that happened in my life that, I mean, all things being equal, I should be living under a bridge with a needle in my arm.
Mm.
And I don't have time or the desire to go through it, but it was not good.
Yeah.
And so I know that it's impossible, largely. I mean, it would have to be pretty catastrophic. And I don't even want to think about it. I want to talk about it, but because I don't want to create it. But I just am on the side of, if something was going to take me down, it would happen by now. And that's how I stay out of the fantasy of failure. And that's what you have to realize. Failure is just a fantasy. It's a sad story that you tell yourself about the future. Right? I don't want to fail you. I don't want to fail. I don't want to. Well, that's a lot of money. What if it doesn't work? But that's not happening right now. But it could. But it's not. Right? And how often has it happened? Well, like in one day, the human mind, the ego structure is designed for self-preservation. That is its primary role. Stay alive. Every living thing is imbued with the desire to stay alive. It's why plants turn towards the sun. It's why, babies are born with a fear of falling. Right? The human, we have this God-given system of staying alive. And so because of that, we're constantly working on scenarios where we could die. And so throughout the day, you have at least 10,000 experiences where you are preventing, where you are working through a prevention of your death. When you walk down a set of stairs, instantly, you're being flooded and processing the idea about how to step on the steps so you don't die. You don't realize it because it happens so quickly. But this is a process that we go through all the time. When you merge onto the highway, same thing. Like 10,000 different scenarios are running through your head. You just don't realize it because you're used to it.
Yeah.
And so that's what failure is. This fear of failure. It's a scenario. Now, the likelihood of things going wrong the way that you think they go wrong are so small. They're not even worth it. It's like one of my favorite movies, Apollo 13, right? The ship blew up because what happened was not on their list of what might happen. And the same is true of our failure. Like, it didn't occur to me when I was building the big time group that I might inadvertently hire a pathological liar, fold him into my sales process, he make a bunch of promises that were impossible, me believe him, and then have to refund all that money. And then, right? Like, that was not, I was busy building systems about things that I believe might happen.
Right.
So the failure that you think might happen is not going to happen the way that you think it happens. So you might as well just forget about that.
So true. Let's pause right here because we're going to disconnect from Facebook. If you're watching on Facebook, thank you for being here. This part now is reserved for members. So we're going to go ahead and cut off Facebook real quick. And we will, let's see here. Okay, Facebook. Let's see. Stop. Okay. All right. So now it's still being recorded.
Okay.
We're within the community.
I wish I had known, because what I would have said is, okay, I'm going to tell you the most important thing that I'm ever going to tell anybody. And I've never told anybody this. And then we should have cut off Facebook, because then everybody would have. See, I'm good at marketing. I just don't want to do it for a living.
Yeah. I like it. So, one of the things we've talked about is this whole, and I can't remember what the term you use, but you use a really cool term where it's you're putting your fakes, not your fake self, but your alternative self out. What did you call that? I loved when you said
representative.
Your representative.
Right.
What about the difference between the representative and the real person?
So the rep, right? I do when I speak or when I do workshops, I always start with this exercise I created called Fire Your Rep. Because when I am working with a group, I don't want to waste a lot of time talking to their reps. I don't want, let me say it this way in the positive. What I want is a group of authentic people. And so the first thing I got to do is get the reps out of the room.
Yeah.
So the representative is this part of us that goes into a social situation and says to us, our true self, hold on, I'm going to go check this out. Right. So they look around, they sniff around, they go, okay, what kind of group is this? All right, this is kind of an intellectual business group. All right, great. Taking notes. This is a group where being intelligent is important. Okay, that's good. Okay, right. And so, right. So that rep comes back to you, your true self, and says, look, here's the parts of yourself, only the parts of yourself that you're going to share. And you're going to you're going to make these things hyper realistic and dial down everything else and go, right? So what the rep does is it prevents you from being embarrassed. It prevents you from looking stupid. It elevates your social currency, right? Like the rep seems like it's pretty good, right? The problem is you can't have an authentic conversation and be in your rep at the same time. That's where you get screwed. You can walk around that room and not make any connections with people and have someone just go, oh, wow, that walking mannequin over there is really cool, right? But if you want to make an authentic connection, you got to fire your rep. And so what I do in my workshops and when I speak, by the way, when I started speaking, public speaking, someone said, oh, never turn the room over to the audience because you'll never get it back again. I'm like, oh, well, then that's the first thing I'm going to do.
Yeah.
And all you got to do is make an agreement with the audience. Hey, after this time, I'm going to blow this whistle. Do we all agree that you'll sit back down? Great. Okay. And if you can't control a room, you shouldn't be a speaker anyway. So what I say is we're going to just get up and have a conversation for 3 minutes. Just talk with people like you're at a cocktail party. Right? And then I say, after that time is up, hey, what was that like? Right? Did you enjoy it? What did you learn about the person? How much of your true self do you think that you shared? 80%, 90, 70. And, people throw out numbers and like,
what's the average when you hear that from people? Since you're asking them
like low, people will say 60.
Okay.
Right. People will go from like 60 to like 90. No one's going to say 100 because they don't want to be that person because the rep says, don't do that. He might call on you. Right. So, I know what's happening as it's happening. Right. I just got to get them there. And so I say, yeah, sorry, but it was 5%. And I just stop and I just sort of let that drop. I just let the room be in that. So, and then I say, so here's what happened. You didn't actually meet each other. You met your representatives. And then I describe what the rep is and how that works. And I say, so in order for this to work, because we have a very short amount of time, in order for this to work, we're going to have to fire your reps so we can get honest here. Right. And if anybody doesn't want to fire your rep, totally cool. You should leave now. Right? Not going to, no judgment. If you're not into this, and I have had people leave, right? Yeah. Oh, this sounds like a cult. I'm like, oh, it's definitely a cult. And so
it's definitely a cult.
Well, cult is short for the word culture, and I'm creating cultures, right? And so then the exercises, I put 3 questions on the board, and I change them based on what I feel the room is like, right? And so the question is usually like something that somebody doesn't know about me. Something I've wanted to do, but I've been afraid of trying is my favorite toy as a kid, just questions that just go into a quality that the rep doesn't have a foothold in. And so then we have that. And what's so interesting about that part of it is that the room gets really quiet. Before it's very loud and people are talking and I'm doing this and I drive a Tesla and these things, right? And then it gets very loud, right? Or it gets very, very quiet, right? And for that, I give a little more time. And then when it ends, I'm like, how was that? And there's this really beautiful thing that happens. And you just feel it. It's palpable in the room. And I mean, I did this not that long ago with this event. It had nothing to do with personal development or anything. This woman's crying. And I went up to her afterwards and she said, I shared something with someone that I've never shared before. And it wasn't some big, revealing thing about some awful thing about her past. It was pretty innocuous. And I won't share it because it was personal, but um, and unfortunately, that was the last I saw of her at the event. And I think it scared her.
Sure.
Like being that open scared her. And I was so regretful that I didn't go a little deeper with her. And I'm like, boy, if that happens again, right? Ooh, I failed, right? Great learning lesson. And
Yeah.
so, and that's what I invite people to do. And you do this too, Bob. Like you and I are similar in that. I love asking personal questions.
Yeah.
And the funny thing is, people love answering personal questions. Because if you practice being genuinely interested in other people, and I mean it, genuinely interested in other people, then they feel it. And I have had the most fascinating conversations on airplanes and buses and in line at the grocery store and at the DMV because I'm genuinely interested. And I'm just fascinated by people. They're just, I mean, everybody has these stories and the things that they've been through and how they've managed. It's wonderful.
Yeah. It really is. I'm fascinated by that kind of thing. Everyone go ahead and bring yourselves on camera because I want you guys to be able to be on camera with us, be able to ask questions. I understand if you're getting ready for bed, Leslie, I get that. So you don't have to put yourself on. If but if you want to, you're more than welcome to.
Look,
There will be judgment on this side. So, Bill, Bill always has some great thoughts. What have you thought about the conversation?
Well,
What stood out?
I have a couple of things, but the first thing, when you had mentioned that you got out of personal development because you couldn't find anybody that would go and do more work. They just got above feeling okay and they called it happy.
Yeah.
And you went into marketing then?
No, it was a very circuitous route. I was still living in St. Louis, Missouri, and what actually was a tipping point is I spent this weekend helping these people. Like you got to push through and do the things that you don't want to do. And it's after the weekend, I'm back in the hotel room, I'm getting ready to go to bed. And I caught my eye in the mirror and I had this, oh shit moment because what I was telling them to do, I wasn't doing because what I was supposed to do was move from St. Louis to Los Angeles and make movies. And I hadn't done that because I was too afraid. And so that's what I did. So I did make movies, but I ultimately came to recognize it's not what I wanted to do forever. So I'm not sure if I'm answering your question. It seems like there was something else there.
I was just curious because you said that you kind of got out of it because you couldn't find enough people that wanted to do the rest of the work, and then got out. But then you went back into it. Did you change something, or did you find was your master marketing that you finally found the people?
Yeah.
That up and do the work, or did you reside to let people have their own or definition of best version?
No, I found you, Dr. Bill, and Bob, and Jim, and Alana, and Flo, and Dan. This is it. This is the community. I was just swimming in the wrong pool. It was a bunch of privileged white people, right? They didn't know struggle.
Me and Bob talk about swimming in the small ponds.
Yeah.
Puddles.
Yeah. Well, it used to be a pond, turned to a puddle. Now it's a drop.
Yeah.
Hardly.
And the second quick question is when you're talking about firing your rep, that sounds a lot like Bob's connectology. When we're in a group and specific poignant questions that kind of sift through the bullshit and then get to the conversations that bring the real person out. And then once you're talking to the real person and not the rep, that's when connections happen, because we all know that networking is for amateurs. But
yeah, I love it.
It sounds real simple. Yeah, I guess you are talking to the right group.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Look, if I'm teaching square dancing, and I'm in a group of concert pianists, man, I can be the greatest square dance caller teacher in the world, but man, I'm in the wrong group. Like they're just going to think I'm a moron.
Mm,
And so, it's finding the people who want it. And that's what I found. Entrepreneurs want it. Entrepreneurs work harder. They're more diligent. It's just the nature of it, because people who give up entrepreneurialism, they just don't have that, right? They go back to their little job, and it's fine, but they don't have the grit to stay in the fire, to keep looking at the parts of themselves that they judge, to get the freedom from that.
You know what's interesting? I don't want to hog all this stuff, but
No, please.
it's a good segue of when I shared what I was doing with the people who want to go good from great. It's the exact same people, that the same concept. It's more of a physical thing, but to me, health fitness has to go along with your mindset, because they're tied together. And it is that grit, that it's that weird thing that you can't not do.
Yeah.
And I'm going, where does that come from? Why was I cursed with that problem? Because it'd be really great just to go 9 to 5 and lay in my apartment and turn on Jeopardy and Matlock and kind of just sit there and exist.
Yeah.
So
Well, Bill and I used to meet for lunch every week on Tuesday for almost 10 years, I think, probably close to. And we would meet and we'd spend 2 hours just talking. And I remember some of the conversations we had were about, he'd have patients come in and just go, okay, I'm in pain. I want help. And he'd be, okay, here's a regimen. Here's the things to do. And, some stretching, and you're probably going to have about 10 sessions and this. No, I just want to get out of pain. I just want to get out of pain. And he'd be like, I want to help them, not just fix them for the moment. I can definitely see how that would be really a frustrating thing.
Right. It's like taking your car in and saying, hey, the engine light's on, and the mechanic going, okay, well, we're going to take a look at it. No. Just unscrew the light bulb that's behind the engine light. Like, that's what I need.
Yeah.
Like, okay, we can do that. Right. And it's like,
but we can.
And I know your frustration, Dr. Bill, because I feel it, right? Like, I want it, but I don't want to do the work. And to so many people, I bless them and send them on their way, because I'm unwilling to be, because I know there's somebody else who is willing to do that work, and I'm unwilling to put that time into that person when there's somebody else that will take that work and run with it, and then there'll be pond ripples.
Yeah. No, and I found that as I've matured, to kind of go, okay, this is their journey. It's not my journey.
Yes.
And I'm not, I used to pull them down. Well, you got to do this. Well, come here. Well, we could do payments. You don't have, you need this.
Yeah.
To me, it's like, they're my canvas and I'm an artist. I'm like, oh yeah, I know exactly what we can do. We can do this, this, and this. So it's, artists interrupt us.
How about you, Jim? What do you got?
I'm sure there's more questions.
I'm sorry. That's okay. Jim, what about you? What are your thoughts?
I'm fascinated by the firing of the rep. I didn't know that was a thing, but I created this rep for myself, and it became me, and I've fired it, and now I'm trying to sweep every last vestige of it out of my life completely. And thank God Bob and I found each other. I don't know how, I do know how that happened. It was probably it was God that made that happen for me. So I'm curious to know where you came up with that, and is it a thing? Must be.
And is it, what I've got a question about that, Jim, is it a one time, one off, or is it something you have to continually do?
The firing of the rep?
Yeah.
I'm doing it all the time, right? Yeah. Because the ego is stronger than anything, right? The ego is the human animal's desire to survive.
Mm.
And so it's not fighting the ego, it's just distracting it by staying focused on service.
Mm. Mm. Oh. Jim, did that answer your question? Was I
Yeah,
interrupted?
yeah. For
And,
me,
and by
it's
the way, look, everything is derivative. Like I'm not some genius that just, because Bob's doing roughly the same thing, right? And it's my take on that
yeah.
approach.
No, I love that. It's really it just brings it right into focus. It's very clear when you say that. I was like, I instantly recognized, oh yeah, I got a rep. And
course
it's
you
like,
do.
Okay, now I can put a name to it. And I was calling it the chameleon, but I think the rep is a better thing.
Mm. Mm. Yeah.
You know, I have something I'd like to give away, Bob. Would that be okay?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
And
So
while he's prepping for that, guys, if you have a question, go ahead and raise your virtual hand there so we can see
yeah,
it, and do that because we are coming up to our end time. So
yeah, I know. That's why I want to give this away.
Yeah.
This is
No, go ahead.
it's called the Free Dessert Challenge. And what the Free Dessert Challenge is it's going to challenge you to step into discomfort and get something, a free dessert,
Mm,
and get it in a way where you're being influential
I love it.
and outside of your comfort zone. And to get this, just text the word dessert, and it's DESSERT, and it has two S's. Dessert has two S's. Why? Because you always want another helping, right? DESSERT, text dessert to this number, 213-409-8366. 213-409-8366, and text the word dessert. And you'll get a link to get the free dessert challenge. And I don't want to go into it. All the instructions are right there in the challenge. And by the way, this is something that I created accidentally when I was broke. And I wanted a free dessert, but I
Love
also
the
wanted
story.
to begin to
Great.
coach and be influential.
That is a great story, though. I remember.
Bob,
it.
I'm also popping the link into the chat. Yep,
Awesome.
that's it. You got it.
Good. All right. Dan Altmeyer, he has a question or a comment.
So, Coach Dan, first of all, good first name.
Never met a Dan I didn't like.
Exactly. So second of all, I'm glad you're finally giving us our just desserts. But a bump. I'm Bill shaking his head. I got my prognosis is bad.
Keep it going, Dan. Come on, man. You know, you got to get our namesake back up there.
But seriously, I've trained literally trained and managed and led literally thousands of salespeople in my career, and the first thing you talked about is just the difference between a successful salesperson and a lucky salesperson.
Mm.
And the successful salesperson takes responsibility for everything. And it doesn't matter. Oh, well, there were floods. Okay, but yeah, there's what way could you have dealt with it? I could have zoomed to them. Find a way, find a solution. There's always an answer. There's always a solution. There's always a lesson to learn when you don't succeed. And like you said, what would be the difference if you knew that this appointment was going to give you $5,000? What would you have done different? And
Yeah.
I think that's a simple thing, but it's a very difficult thing for people to train themselves to do. And as you mentioned with Jim, it's something that comes up over and over again because it's really easy to fall back into that whole victim as opposed to victor mentality. And so how do you, when you're talking to people about sales and being successful in sales, obviously the rep is a real important thing, but so are the habits. What do you do? What do you talk about as far as habits are concerned? What's your thoughts on that?
The habits are how you treat yourself in the morning. All right. So I have a habit of I get up, kiss Rosalind, brush my teeth, meditate, take a walk, have breakfast, listen to the news, get to work. Right. So these habits, or this habit, it empowers me. Right? It sets the tone of my day. And it is about putting me and where my feelings are, like feeling good about myself at the start of my day. There's a product I use called New Calm. It's a binaural beats product, and it is by far the best one out there. And by the way, okay, I'm gonna give it. So text CALM to that same number, CALM, to 213-409-8366. You'll get a free week of it. It'll change your life. I mean, I tried everything, right? This is the only thing that I meditate with New Calm, and there's a bunch of different channels. Tony Robbins is now involved with it. The FBI, the special forces, 50 different professional sports teams. It's going well. It's really unbelievable. It's not unbelievable. It's a very powerful thing. So these are the habits, right? The habits of how you empower yourself. Because when I start talking to when I start selling someone, getting into a sales conversation, I want to be so focused on them. And in order to be focused on them, I have to be taken care of first, right? Because I'm looking at their micro expressions. I'm listening to the tonality of their voice. I'm focused on what they're struggling with, not their pain points. I'm not trying to manipulate them, use little Jedi mind tricks, but I'm understanding the struggle that they're facing in their life that's showing up in their business life. Right? And I can't do that if I'm not taken care of first. So I always start with, hey, what's your routine?
Well said.
Thanks.
How about Flo? Since Flo is a co-moderator, she can't actually raise her hand, so I always just call on her.
Thank you for sharing, Dan. What stood out to me was when you said it wasn't the failure itself, it was the 8 months. What became the most aware to you in that 8 months?
That I was a very different person than I thought that I was. And it took wiping that whiteboard clean and removing all of the concept of who I was. And I began to get very curious about who I was. And in fact, I mean, that's no kidding. I was in deep clinical depression. You know, I was spending a lot of time on my couch, ironically watching the TV show Lost. But one day I thought, I don't know who I am. So I sent an email to a bunch of my friends and I said, I don't know. And these are badass guys, right? I said, I don't know who I am. Would you tell me who I am? Like, no bullshit. Tell me who I am. And what I got back, it wasn't compliments. It was the truth of how they saw me. And I printed those out and I taped them up on my wall in my office, because as I was suffering through the fantasy of failure, I would look back up at them and go, oh, no, that's who I am. And that also became a process. Anything like the free dessert challenge was something I deconstructed. This was something I deconstructed. It's called the You Manifesto. And I have my clients do this. And it's a more involved process now, but you cannot rely on yourself. Like nothing great ever happened alone. You have to reach out to the people that you trust.
Amen.
And those people are going to share with you the parts of yourself you hide, repress, and deny on both sides. And when you have the courage to look at those things flat on and love yourself at the same time, that's where the action starts. And as I started to ingest those truths, it went from catastrophic and painful to easier and sometimes even joyful, while I was healing.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing.
So guys, I hope you've enjoyed this conversation as much as I have. Dan, I feel like we could just keep going. I mean, every conversation I have with you, it's like, this is a great conversation, and I really appreciate the opportunity to do that. I'm a big fan of people who can volley a conversation. If you can volley a conversation, I'm good. I want to ask you a final thought on, you and I've talked about this in private about what a meaningful conversation, that we both really value meaningful conversations. Could you define what meaningful is to you? Because it might be different for person to person.
Yeah. And by the way, I just texted in the link to the U Manifesto. So
Nice.
Flo send that out.
Awesome.
Would you ask that question again, please? I wasn't paying attention.
What is a meaningful conversation for you? We both really value meaning.
First of all, someone who pays attention.
What constitutes a meaningful conversation?
Right. Look how quickly I went back into ego. Oh, I have to share this because it's so cool. Right?
It's good though. It's good.
Yeah. It's meaningful conversation really is when at the end of it, I have very little recollection of the things I discussed. Like I can't tell you what I talked about over the past 90 minutes because I was not in my ego, right? I wasn't in the space of, I hope this is good.
Right.
And so meaningful conversations, I walk away with a feeling of satisfaction and that deep sense of a human connection, that God-given human connection, that we're born with.
Yeah.
And that's, the most meaningful is something happens. There's a shift in my heart where I'm like, I've got to talk to that person again, much like you. I mean, I can't tell you what we talked about. Fortunately, I recorded it and ChatGPT'd it so I could look over the notes, but right.
Which I appreciate you sharing those with me. Though.
Yeah.
Guys, meaningful conversation. You know where I stand. I am not one for small talk. I don't like glad-handing things. And so when I connect with somebody like this, I want to bring them to you as quickly as possible. And it just so happened that it worked out well this week. What I encourage you guys to do, we're going to make him a member of the Next Level by Association Facebook group, which is a private group. So he will be in there. You guys can reach out to him there. You can connect. You can do anything you want. Have great conversation. I'll say it again. It's not up to him to find you. It's up to you to find him. And but I know that if you do, you'll have a great conversation. And I just always encourage you guys, just reach out and say, can I just get to know you a little bit? Please don't use the term pick your brain. I hate the term, you know that. Can I just want to get to know you a little bit, and then set up a call or set up a video chat or whatever it is, right there within the Facebook group even, and have the conversation where you get to know each other, and then watch and see what happens, guys. There's people in here that people have forged new businesses out of the relationships they formed within Next Level by Association, formed new relationships. I mean, it's been an amazing venture to watch people's lives flourish because of the association that they have within the people in the room. So please do that. Don't deprive yourself of that. Make sure that, and don't deprive the rest of the world from the greatness that that can come from those great connections. So,
and more importantly, don't deprive me of you. Like, let's think about me. I want those conversations. That's important. Me.
I appreciate you. I appreciate you. Guys, we're gonna have more conversation. Trust me. We'll bring him back. We'll have some other conversations. But guys, this week is a week to be able to take the information you've learned tonight, the conversation you've had, and say, who do I know needs to hear this conversation? Who do I know that needs to be a part of a conversation like this? Because very few conversations start and end like this one does. And I say that with all honesty because I'm part of a lot of conversations every week, and very few are of this caliber. So and it's not me. It's really about you guys having good questions. It's about you guys being present and conscious about what's going on. And it's about the guest, Dan, being a person that's just a vessel today to be able to be used and be utilized to help other people expand their lives. So thank you, Dan. I appreciate you. Members, thank you. Guests, thank you. Leslie, I know it's really late where you're at. So thank you for being here and thank you for staying up. She's loved it, Flo. Thank you guys. I appreciate you guys. Dan, thank you so much. I'm gonna go ahead and stay on just for a minute. Guys, the rest of you have a great week and enjoy your next level.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You.